Welcome to episode 3 of the Great Gluten-Free Technical Challenge. Today I'm a little under the weather, so my voice sounds a little weird. Today is the ciabatta bread challenge, and I'm a little freaked out because gluten-free stuff doesn't do very well when we're trying to take gluten out of the mix. But I'm going to do my best, and if it's an epic disaster, at least I'm taking you along for the ride for the epic disaster. So let's get started. The first thing I need to do is coat a square Tupperware with oil so that when I put the dough in, it dumps out after it's been proved, and it dumps out easily. So we're gonna do that first. And sounds like they coated it quite heavily all the way around. So that's ready to go. Put the lid on so nothing gets in it. Set that aside. Today I'll be using Quick Rise Red Star yeast, Pamela's all-purpose flour. I'm going to add to the recipe since I have to make it gluten-free. I'm gonna try not to make it a disaster. So I'm going to be adding a half teaspoon of Xanthan Gum and salt and water. That's pretty much it. And I'm going to grind 10 grams of salt. That's a lot of salt. Hasn't even hit the first gram yet. Whoa, that's a ton of salt. It's not even hitting 1 gram yet. That's like over a tablespoon. I'm a little weirded out.
10 grams is 0.35 ounces.
0.35 ounces. It for real says 10 grams. 1/3 ounce. Yeah. I'm gonna try this and see if it's like not registering that I'm adding to the Oh, yeah, it wasn't registering it. Okay, well, I learned my lesson on that one. Okay, that's a lot of salt. I'm glad I checked. All right, let's try this again. Tare to 0, 10 grams. There's 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. What's a little extra? That's a little extra. Yeah. Well, it wasn't even moving. Okay. So it says to mix this with the flour, but don't mix it directly with the yeast. So it says put the flour, salt, and yeast with 330 milliliters or 17 fluid ounces of cold water in a freestanding mixer. Well, there's the salt. Now we're going to put 500 grams of flour in. There's 300. Okay, there's 200 more. Are you laughing because the dog is barking while we're doing this?
No.
Oh, take a picture of her. She's been a brat for like forever. And now she's behaving and the neighbor's dog is barking. Okay, there's my 500 grams of flour. Now I'm just gonna mix it up really quick and then add the yeast. This is so that the yeast is not getting directly hit with all the salt, all in clumps. All right, and I'm going to also add the xanthan gum. And I should probably mix that in before I add the yeast. Xanthan gum, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a substance that makes the dough stick together better since it doesn't have the gluten. I'm just putting half a teaspoon in. Okay, adding the yeast. So 12 fluid ounces of water is going to be, or 11 will be just below 1.5 cups. A little too much in. It's right at 12. All right, we'll call that 11 ounces. And we're just gonna pour the water in. Put it in the mixer. Begin mixing on a slow speed. There we go. That's as slow as it'll go. As the dough starts to come together with the motor running, slowly add another 3.5 ounces of cold water. That was more than a drip. Whoops. It is like chalky flour paste, which I knew was a possibility. Okay, keep going. So this is why you're not supposed to dump it all in at once or it won't hook the dough. Trying to get it to mix up. Pause it for a second because it's not mixing these large chunks together very well. We're supposed to Let's see how this is behaving. Not even close to what theirs looks like on the show.
Kind of gross tasting.
I don't think that's gonna work. It doesn't taste gross, but it's like grainy and like putty. And it's supposed to be stringy. Oh, mix for 5 to 8 minutes.
Still mix it a little bit longer.
I think I'm gonna mix it a little bit longer.
Okay.
It's changed consistency a little bit already. And since it doesn't have gluten in it, like wheat gluten, my thought is that it should probably be beat quite a bit more to have a consistency that is stringy. Well, it's changing consistency a tad. But it's still like putty. It's like really, really thick frosting. Wow, so bad. All right, well, it is what it is. You don't get the video edited edition like the third attempt. You get the real thing the first time. We're gonna dump this into the Tupperware and hope it raises. It's probably not gonna. It's so stuck together. It doesn't even want to conform to the container. It's just like really, really solid frosting. I have an idea for an alternative, but we'll try this first. All right, so we just let that sit somewhere, not in a proving drawer, for 1.5 to 2 hours. And I don't think anything's gonna change, but I'm gonna put a mark on there to see if it's actually rising or not. I don't think it's gonna. The stuff won't even come off my fingers. It's so stuck. All right, see you back here in 2 hours. 2.5 hours later, I'll show you what we have. Here is our dough. I didn't think it would rise at all, and it has. So the blue mark here is where it started, and you can see that it's almost double in 2.5 hours. It's supposed to take 1.5 hours, so it took 1 hour longer than assumed on the recipe. But I'm gonna call this good for now. It has to rise some more once it's on these cookie sheets here. So I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to be very careful though. So the dough is supposed to be, you're supposed to be very careful with it. You're supposed to put flour and semolina. I have cornmeal, which I'm just going to call that semolina for today. And it's one of those days, I guess. And then I'm going to use a little more of that same flour I was using before. Just sprinkle that out, and they say to be very generous with the flour before you dump out your dough. And you want to be as gentle as you possibly can with it, because you don't want to lose the bubbles that have been made by the yeast. You want to lose as few of those as possible. And this is why I wanted a shallower container. I don't have one. This is the closest I have. So that when I dump it out, it doesn't have too far to fall. Please come out. I'll let that sit there for a minute. Apparently I needed more oil in here. I thought I put a lot, but there we go. All right. Put some more flour on there. And the goal here is to not smash it as little as possible, and keep the square shape so that you can cut it into 4 equal pieces. So that's what I'm going to try and do here. Oh boy. I didn't. As usual, I did not plan ahead. Should have put flour down. There we go. And then it says to stretch them out a little bit. Those do not look like ciabattas. Oh my goodness. So they're not as dense as they were before, but they do not have the consistency I'm going for. That's about as close as I think I'm gonna get. Okay. Now we're gonna wait for another probably an hour, hour and a half while they rise some more. And Dan's starting his timer again. And we're going to put them in the oven. I have it preheating at 425 degrees, and we might have some very dense bread here in a few hours. See you later. We are at 1 hour and 17 minutes into this lovely experience. They're raising, which is very unexpected and awesome. We're gonna just put them in because it's getting late. You can see that they have cracks now. We're gonna have to go to bed at some point. These are taking about twice as much time to do what the recipe says they're supposed to do. So there's no way I would have finished the actual technical challenge if this had been on the show. But they smell like real dough bread rising, so that's cool. And I'm gonna put them in the oven now and see what happens. Okay. So I'm putting them in on convection bake just to see what happens, because I have 2 layers in there, and you know, this whole thing is an experiment, so might as well throw that on top. So we have them in the oven on 425 degrees, convection bake, and the recipe says it should take about 25 minutes. Okay, so they're supposed to be done. I'm supposed to be able to tap them so that they sound hollow, and gluten-free bread tends to need a little more time. So we're gonna try it, and then if they don't quite seem done, we'll put them in for a little bit longer. Well, they feel like bricks, but they don't quite sound hollow. So we're gonna leave them in for maybe another 5 minutes. All right, it is what it is. Hey! Oh my goodness, I can't believe it actually sort of worked. Okay, so one thing you never want to do with gluten-free bread is try and cut it open while it's still hot, because it will just become a big gooey mess, or it'll all just fall apart. So let it cool. These are supposed to cool to room temperature before you cut them. Thanks for watching this technical bake. Bread's gonna be a challenge no matter what when it comes to gluten-free products, especially if I'm following their ingredients list. So I am working on some alternative plans for kind of stretchy gluten-free bread, but for now it is what it is. Thanks for watching. I hope you like, share, and subscribe to these videos, and join me next time when I work on the next technical bake. It's denser than a normal ciabatta, but it does have varying bubble sizes, which is what you're supposed to have. So basically, if we would have had like 12 hours to let it raise, it would have been just fine. Let's try some, I guess. See what it tastes like. It's chewy.
Very durable crust.
I think it might be the chewiest gluten-free dough I've ever had.